Bond. James Bond.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep! Sublime!
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Tear me apart, Lisa!
But mostly I hate the way I don't hate you. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not even at all.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of You Haven't Seen That, a movie discussion podcast where we introduce our friend Ben to movies he should have seen a long time ago. I'm your host, Amanda.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Ben.
And today we are discussing Twister. Stick around until the end. We'll be chatting about our top 4 natural disasters that we would not want to find ourselves in.
Riveting topic.
Should have done the top 4 we want to be in. That would have been fun.
I don't know that I want to be in any of them.
I was gonna say, I feel like for the three of us, we're very conditioned to have a very easy number one because we deal with one nearly every year. So there's like a pretty obvious number one, but otherwise. All right, Twister. An unprecedented series of violent tornadoes is sweeping across Oklahoma. Tornado chasers, headed by Dr. Joe Harding, attempt to release a groundbreaking device that will allow them to track them and create a more advanced warning system. They are joined by Joe's soon-to-be ex-husband, Bill, a former tornado chaser himself, and his girlfriend, Melissa. Released in May 1996, the number one song, Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey.
Nice.
Classic.
The musical Rent opened on Broadway.
Heck yeah, it did.
And there was a very famous birthday at this time, probably a week or two after this movie came out. Josh Allen.
What a baby.
Right? Directed by Jan de Bont, this movie stars Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, Carrie Elwes, Jamie Gertz, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Alan Ruck, and Jeremy Davies, who we just saw in Saving Private Ryan. With a $92 million budget, this movie grossed $499 million at the global box office. It opened up number one in the US and stayed there for 2 weeks before losing its spot to another movie we've covered on this podcast, Mission Impossible. This movie also finished as the number 2 movie of 1996, behind Independence Day and just ahead of Mission Impossible. This movie was somewhat okay received by critics. It has a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 68 on Metacritic. This movie was also nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. They lost those categories to The English Patient and Independence Day, respectively. This movie also had a legacy sequel released in 2024 called Twisters, plural.
There's so many.
So many.
At least I didn't call it like Twister 2, the twist.
2 twist tours.
I don't know. All right. Thanks, Geoff.
You can keep workshopping. You were there. You'll get there.
I guess they just went simple, We'll just make it plural.
Not like this movie has just one twister.
I was going to say.
There's a lot of twisters in Twister.
Well, there's a lot of twisters and twisters too.
I was gonna say, I think there might be more twisters in Twister.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I can't remember either.
All right, Ben, why don't you tell us your history with twisters? No,
All
Twister.
Right, so,
oh my gosh.
Twister. So I was 9 years old when this movie came out, and in the summer of 1996, shortly after this movie came out, I got very into like movie showtimes and movies coming out and movie theaters and things like that. And I would call our local movie theater to see what movies were playing, even though I wasn't going to see half of them. I attribute a lot of this to Harriet the Spy, which I was obsessed with that summer and had gone to see in the theaters. And it kind of like blossomed into like this kind of just fascination with you know, how I was into like TV schedules. This was like the movie version of that, was like movie theater showtimes. So I know very well like the movies that came out in the summer of 96, even though I haven't seen a lot of them. This one was actually like just before I got obsessed, but I knew about it because it was like the big title that had just been in theaters right before I kind of became like, when I think of like the first movies I kind of was aware of playing in the theaters, besides like ones I saw with my parents, you know, before that, was like things like Independence Day and Harriet the Spy, of course, and Phenomenon with John Travolta and Courage Under Fire. Like those are all the movies that I always like. No, I'm like, if you told me, if you would have been like, Ben, what movies came out in July 1996, I can tell you, because I was so into it. That's when I first got into it. Like I said, this was a little bit before that, so I was aware of it, but not super familiar with it. I obviously knew what it was about by the title.
Pretty obvious. What about you, Geoff?
So 1996, I was 4, so I wasn't going to see Twister in the theater. My parents would not want me to go see Twister in the theater. I, weirdly enough, never saw this movie until Twisters was coming out. I never had really any interest in checking it out, funnily enough, and just said, oh, it's fine. It's just one of those I'll just miss. It's no big deal. And then eventually checked it out ahead of Twisters. And so this is only my second time seeing it. So I was excited to revisit it.
Nice. Yeah, very similar to Geoff. I did not see it when it came out. Obviously, I knew what it was about, and I think I purposefully avoided it for most of my life just because these types of disaster movies just like stress me out to no end. So I try to avoid watching them. And yeah, watched it before going to see Twisters 2 years ago. Geoff, what's your rating?
So my rating for Twister. This is such a fun movie. It's so ridiculous and over the top. And I feel like it defines it. It is like the stereotypical summer blockbuster sort of thing, where it's just over the top. It's a crowd pleaser. It is a movie that you have to see in it. It's one of those that you could be built that you have to see in a theater. It's fun. Is it kind of stupid? Yes, but I have a good time with it. I think it's the right kind of ridiculous. The first time I saw this movie was in a theater. I think Alamo was showing a screening, and I was riveted during that. I was like, my gosh, this is so great. It loses a little bit of its luster watching it at home, but I still had a fun time with it. I'm going to go with the 3.5.
And what about you, Ben?
So generally, I am not super into the summer blockbuster movies. Those are not my types of movies, broadly speaking. However, I do tend to like them when they're a little more, I hesitate to say the word realistic because I wouldn't call this movie realistic, but in the sense of like not Aliens, not Transformers, not that kind of thing, you know.
It's grounded. It's a grounded movie.
Yeah, it's a real event. It's real people. It's human beings in a real setting, not a futuristic sci-fi kind of thing. So this is the kind of summer blockbuster movie I like. I love Jaws. And I think this kind of checks all the boxes for me as far as a summer blockbuster movie. It's still going to knock it a little bit because it's just not my type of movie overall. But as far as for like the type of movie it is, it's a pretty good one as far as I'm concerned. I think I wish I could have seen it in the theater. I was thinking that when I was watching it, because I do think it's the kind of movie that would definitely be enjoyable on a big screen. But I had fun with it. I'm going to give it a 3.75.
Nice. Yeah, for how long I avoided this movie, it actually doesn't stress me out as much as I like thought it was going to when I was younger. So that's great. I do enjoy this one. I am also going to give it a 3.75.
Nice.
Yeah, all very much in the mid threes.
Yep. It feels about where it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say, you know, I thought this when I see something like Jurassic Park. I think I've talked about with Jurassic Park, but like these movies from the 30 years ago, it looks great.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
It holds up so well. It doesn't look dated. It doesn't look cheesy. It looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The visual effects in this are very good considering when
Yeah.
it was made. And, you know, like you said, there's just some movies from that time period in like the 90s.
And even later too.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That just they just look good. And this is definitely one of them. Like,
This looks less dated than Spider-Man to me.
mm-hmm.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah,
Hard agree.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's and I don't know how they did most of the, you know, like at least nowadays you're like, oh yeah, everything's computer generated, whatever.
Right.
It's like back then,
Right.
I don't know, maybe some of it was, but
Yeah,
looks crazy.
I think some of it
I-
was from what I was reading, but
Yeah, I think that it's a case where even you could, with those tornadoes and the way it looks, it could look so cheesy and fake and everything, but somehow they pulled it off. Everything from the small to the big ones as well. They look realistic. They look intimidating. I feel as I'm watching it a little nervous. Oh, they're in peril. They're in danger. I believe they're in danger, which is hard to do for a movie like this. So, yeah, shout out to the VFX team around this. Completely understand why it was nominated for an Oscar. It did lose to Independence Day, like I said at the beginning, which makes sense because that is a feat in and of itself with the combination of miniatures plus the spaceships and everything. But yeah, this movie is really, really good in that regards. Also, very fun cast. Love
it
the
sounds
deep
like
bench.
yes. A real quick thing on the filming. It sounds like it was very tumultuous filming, like a lot of injuries and a lot of things. You know, I think they were filming in Oklahoma and they were dealing with real weather events and they were dealing with like a difficult director, it sounds like. So it sounds like it said both Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton both had dealt with injuries during it and things like that. So, you know.
Jeez.
They were like really throwing stuff at them in the wind. They're like, duck.
It was just practice so they could be ready for the filming. we're gonna throw a barn door at you.
Well, we were just on the WB studio tour and they have currently the boat that they used in the filming for the Odyssey. And our tour guide was telling no, sorry, that was at Universal Studios.
That was the Universal. Get your studios right.
Sorry. That's what happens when you do 2 studios in 2 days. Sorry, it was at Universal. And they were talking about how they literally had the giant blue screen there that they like put the boat in front of to like film some of the water scenes. I guess they did a lot of it on site, but they did some of it here on the lot as well. And they said that they had jet engines literally going like pointing at the cast with that were like throwing wind and water at them. And they said they thought they would have an easier time when they like weren't on the real ocean instead of like, you know, oh, we're just on the back lot, like it's fine. But they had like literal jet engines. So when I was watching this, I was like, I bet they use jet engines. And
Yeah.
just, like,
Oh yeah.
plastering them with wind and water in the same way.
Speaking of Universal, there was a Twister experience there for a long time at Universal Florida that is now raced through New York.
Oh, interesting. It was an experience, like you felt
Well,
like you
yeah,
were in a
apparently I
Twister?
was trying to read about it. Sounds like it was like sort of half ride, half experience kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I'd rather do that than race to New York with Jimmy Fallon.
1,000%.
Apparently there's some little nods to Twister on that ride is what I was reading. I haven't been on it, but because of it being the
Interesting.
the same spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. I've only been on that ride once, maybe, and that was it. I had no choice to. Well, I mean, I would rather not go on that ride again. I'd rather prioritize other things. So I'm like, it's fine. So if I miss those nods, sorry, but this is
But Geoff, you were saying it's a good cast, and I agree. I wasn't totally sold on Bill Paxton at the beginning, but he won me over as the movie went on. And I love Helen Hunt. I think she's so great.
She's awesome in this movie.
And then a young Philip Seymour Hoffman too.
Philip Seymour Hoffman in this movie is just it's amazing to see what his career ended up blossoming into because you can see it so big into this. Him
Yeah.
just throwing himself into this role.
Yeah, he plays it very big.
He plays it so big. And you can even see it like the way he goes big is it's still in line with the character. It's never obnoxious. It's never too crazy. The point of his character is to be crazy, yes, but it never feels over the top. It always feels in line with the way his character is written and the way his personality should be. It is in line with a lot of the other roles that he has gone big in that I think of, both from a semi-serious comical sense, like a Punch Drunk Love, to a completely comical farcical sense, like Along Came Polly. It just works. So yeah, loved every minute that he was on screen. He's so much fun. And yeah, I was surprised when I saw two. I was like, oh, that's Alan Ruck. Oh, we just saw Jeremy Davies in Saving Private Ryan. This was right before that. And yeah, the lead duo at the beginning of the movie there with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. Jamie Gertz, I know, wasn't the most loved for her role.
I was wondering if you were going to bring up Jamie Gertz.
It wasn't the most celebrated.
She was nominated for a Razzie for this.
She was. Unfortunately.
Is that Melissa?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes, that is Melissa.
I don't know that it's her fault. I think it's a very badly written role.
She is supposed to be the audience stand-in, and I think it's tough for. But like she's the one who gets explained to. She's the one who.
Yeah, she has the audience stand in that sense, but she also is like an antagonist too.
Yes. Yeah.
So that makes it hard.
Especially as Bill and Joe are brought closer and closer together during the movie, and you see him in his element and everything, because initially it's like she's the sympathetic character and then you're supposed to hate her, which I kind of don't as we're going along either, because she seems pretty cool for the ride. She's like, yeah,
I want to tell a story from her point of view. Tell the same story.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair. I thought she did fine with what the character was.
Yeah, I don't think she's bad. I think it's just it's a thinly written character.
Yeah, for sure.
I do think too that like for being mid-90s, like the gender politics with Helen Hunt are actually quite good. Like they seem to like, they treat her like the expert that she is. But Jamie Gertz's character is like, oh no, help me. I feel like there's a little bit of that with it. Like,
but honestly, I feel like that's kind of fair though.
Oh, I know. I mean, if you've never been in I would probably be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. If you're just like a normal person, you go out tornado chasing, like, you would absolutely be like, oh, good Lord, what's happening?
Every character except for Melissa that gets any sort of time to shine or anything in this movie has experienced tornado chasing. She is the only outsider. There's nobody else that's an outsider. So yeah. It's just the difficulty with the character, but I don't blame her. Like we've all said. It is very funny watching her. Just thinking from her shoes, seeing everything such as their truck getting destroyed or her fiance being put in peril or everything that all of the ups and downs that the driving that she needs to experience and be through is just insane. I could never imagine even being in those kind of situations, putting myself in those kind of situations or in her shoes or anything. It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Do you think that Joe purposefully missed signing a page of the divorce papers so that Bill would have to follow and come along on the journey?
Absolutely.
Seems possible.
I think every indication, especially when they go to her aunt's house, seems to indicate that Bill's loved and they know there's a connection there. I absolutely believe that she purposely was like, nah, no, that's okay. I'll sign it later or whatever. Yeah, she's holding out hope for as long as possible.
Fair enough.
What do you think, Amanda?
I think on the list. Oh, sorry. No, yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. I think she purposefully didn't sign it.
I was gonna say on the list of like jobs I'd never want to have, Storm Chaser's got to be high on that list. Like
That's
I know they seem like, and you know, I respect like that they're all super into it. Everybody is gung ho about it, and I know it's their, you know, and I know it's like I'm sure it's the adrenaline rush, but it's not an adrenaline I need in my life.
same. I get enough of it from going on roller coasters and driving on the 495 here around DC. Like I'm good.
And watching Bills games.
And watching Bills games.
I don't know. It seems kind of fun.
You would do it, Amanda?
I don't know. I feel like if I had the appropriate knowledge, I would do it, maybe.
But to accrue that knowledge, you need to be put through the ringer a little bit.
A little bit, but you also need like some base meteorologist type weather training as well. And probably get some training in like disaster preparedness, you know. I don't really know what you're supposed to do in like certain situations. So, you know, like when Bill Paxton's like, oh, these pipes go at least 30 feet down. Like, as long if we strap ourselves to these, like, we'll probably be fine. It's like, I wouldn't know that.
Right?
Yeah. They've definitely got to have a science background for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
I mean, Bill was supposed to be a weatherman. That was going to be his new job.
Right.
That's
what I'm saying. If I had the know-how, I would maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
I feel like even if I had the know-how, I'd want to be like in a room far away tracking it on the screen. I would not be out chasing it.
You wouldn't be one of those crazy people on the Weather Channel. Who's that guy that works on the Weather Channel that gets sent to all of the hurricanes and the floods, and you see him just like awkwardly standing in the storm, screaming into the microphone, "What the category winds are
I
this?"
feel like it's one of those things that people who are into like weather stuff are really into it, like in a way that I don't understand or relate to, but good for them. I'm glad it makes them happy. But I feel like you see like these people who are just, if weather is your thing, you are not halfway in.
No.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's all very interesting and fascinating. And like, even as we were watching this, I was like curious about how much of what they were saying it was true. Obviously, something that may have been true in 1996 may not be true in 2026, but just the fact they were like, oh, like no one actually really knows what goes on inside of a tornado. And like right now, people sometimes only have like 3 minutes of warning before, you know, a tornado is going to hit. And again, obviously, even if that was true in 1996, I'm sure it's better now. But, and obviously, the sequel to this movie is them trying to destroy tornadoes.
Oh, is that the premise?
They basically
trying to end them,
trying to slow them down or eliminate them. Essentially, if memory serves me right, they essentially have a Dorothy style solution that goes up in the tornado and releases some sort of airborne chemical free whatever thing, and it eradicates the twister as it goes, essentially, if memory serves me right.
Yeah, I think you're right, because they do talk about Dorothy, and like they have a similar thing, right, where they had little balls that they were trying to like get up into the tornado.
Yep.
So is it set in the same universe? Like, are these characters I mean, I know Bill Paxton is not still alive, but like, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's not alive, but like, is there any connection between the two?
I don't think they mention any of the characters or anything, but like I said, they do have like Dorothy, and they say that. So I guess technically it takes place in the same world.
Universe.
But nothing is referenced. It's like a case where the solution has already been created. It's never referred back to. It's just kind of embedded into everybody in the day-to-day. So
that's maybe the right call.
Yeah.
But then,
did you like the sequel?
I think we both preferred the original over the sequel, but the sequel is still fun.
The sequel is very fun. I feel like it's kind of more like a little more campy, maybe just because of like the marketing and like kind of everything around it. But like Glenn Powell is definitely more of like your stereotypical storm chaser, where like he's got a social media following.
It's like if Philip Seymour Hoffman was the lead of Twister.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. you know, he's got a big following. He like makes videos as he's like chasing storms. He's got his own merch line. Like people follow him following tornadoes or whatever. So it's a little more of that, but it was funny rewatching the first one after having seen the second one because I didn't realize how much of almost like a shot for shot remake the second one is. Even though it's not a remake and it's a sequel, they like almost copied like almost all of the plot points and the places that they went to. Like, I'm like, oh, it starts with a tornado and we're defining some past history or whatever. And then we go to the National Weather System place. And then we are at a gas station and we're looking at the grass and we're telling if there's a tornado coming. And like just kind of all the beats that it hit were like identical to the first one.
Yeah. And I think this is a great time to talk about our theater experience for Twisters. The second time we saw it.
Yes,
let's clear some room because we have a fantastic experience. We had a fantastic experience seeing Twisters in theaters.
Yes, we went to go see Twisters in 4DX, which for anyone who's never been to a 4DX theater, it essentially the theater seats are like they're split up into kind of short rows, and each row is on its own moving mechanism system. And they have fans, they have water, they have quite literally almost anything you can think of to make these movies like as realistic as possible. And so the second movie starts with a tornado, just like the first one does. And quite literally, everyone was being thrown around on their chairs. People who had popcorn, like the popcorn was flying everywhere. There's wind going, there's like water flying at you. Like you literally have to like hold onto your seat to like stay in your seat. And as soon as like the first tornado finished, everyone just kind of like looked around each other like, "Ooh."
There was
and everyone
laughter.
started clapping.
There was laughter. There was applause. It was amazing.
And so, needless to say, it was probably the best. I never want to watch that movie any other way than in 4DX.
It was like you were there. There's your experience. There's your experience to become a storm
There you
chaser.
go.
Yeah, I mean,
Tell
really,
Amanda knew she
like,
wanted to do it.
it was truly insane. So I have told Geoff many times that if they ever this Twisters being in 4DX was so popular that after it left theaters, they brought it back to 4DX theaters for like an extra week or two, like a month later, just because so many people wanted to go and do it. So I always tell them, like, if it ever comes back to 4DX theaters for like an anniversary or whatever, like we're going. And you should all go to if you live near a 4DX theater.
You know, Geoff, I think it was you who said that the first or the Twisters, one of you two, maybe no, I think it was Amanda. Doesn't matter. That said that it's campy, like embracing the campiness of this. And obviously the first one's campy too. I mean, you got a cow flying through the air at one, you know, but I wonder, like, I feel like Twister, like they've embraced how campy it is, the original. Like, I wonder how much of the intent was to be that campy when they were making it.
That's a great question. So I was slightly curious, because when you were talking about the injuries and the incidents on set and almost like the ridiculous, almost realistic nature of having to try to film it there, I was looking at the director and trying to think about what other movies they've done and how they've contributed. So the director for this movie, Jan de Bont, is not a director by trade. He is a cinematographer, or he was a cinematographer in charge of camera and everything. The big movie that he did was Die Hard in terms of the cinematography. He's also done Basic Instinct and other action movies on top of that. He hasn't directed
Speed
many
also,
movies.
right? Didn't he do Speed?
Speed is the other big movie he directed.
Yeah.
He did Speed 2. He did a Lara Croft Tomb Raider movie, but Speed is the big movie. And that movie also features kind of the crazy sort of bus chases and almost like campy nature to that, because that one's just ridiculous as well.
Oh, that movie's so ridiculous.
That movie is ridiculous. So there is almost an inherent nature to this ridiculousness from from a directing sense from this guy. So I think it was embraced in the creation process, in the scriptwriting process, where as they're driving, it's like, what if we have a cow? What if we throw a cow in this? What if we have twins? What if we have twin tornadoes? What if we do this? What if we have horses running through? I think there was an element embraced with this, at least based on past history.
It seems a little bit that way for the way it's done. I also always laugh at how these disaster movies always start so chill. Like
Always.
they're like driving on the country roads, and like I'm like, there is like never a disaster movie that like doesn't start. You know, maybe they have like maybe there's like a prologue, so to speak. You know, in some of them, but then even if that happens, it always flashback to like a nice warm day where they're driving with the windows down and everything's very chill. And I'm like, that is such a hallmark of a disaster movie.
I feel like they do that a lot of times for horror movies too. Like sometimes when we're in the theater, we'll see a trailer playing and I'm like, oh, look at they're at the beach and it's such a nice day. And then it's like, and a murderer comes out. You're like, oh, okay, great.
I noted this too, was after the prologue, they're at the weather service place or whatever, and they're talking about all of the weather patterns and the potential tornadoes that are coming. And the director said, it's going to be a long day. And as soon as they said that, it cuts to Oklahoma, super cheery, upbeat music starts playing. And then you see, I think it was Bill's truck driving through to catch up to find Joe. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. They've set this up great with exactly how it's supposed to be. Like, oh, it's all, but boom, we're all happy. We're all ready to go. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. So really does a good job of setting the scene and playing along with that idea.
Yeah. That's something I wonder about too, is like, obviously we don't live in the Midwest where they get tornadoes but I was like, is it crazy that this many tornadoes happened? Like in one day? I was like, is this just one day?
Like
I'm like, how many miles did they travel?
Supposed to be like a particularly bad situation of tornadoes.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but I also just have no, I have no
frame of reference.
Yeah, there you go.
When I visited my friend in Indiana, the tornado siren went off at one point, but it was just like most of the time it's like a storm warning for us or a lake effect snow warning. You know, they're rarely as bad as depicted in this movie, but when they're bad, you know, just like any blizzard or something like that too. Like it's most of them are mild, but the bad ones are bad.
Yeah, for sure.
I do think one of the things that's scary about tornadoes is and this might, you know, I don't want to jump to our top 4 here, but you know, this obviously is about tornadoes. So I feel like the lack of advanced warning for when it can get bad, worse than some other natural disasters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can just form seemingly out of nowhere and they just pop up and they seem to move unpredictably, at least through what this movie shows. Again, I don't know if that's super true to real life, but
it's like a documentary.
I don't know. They're just they're chasing it and Carrie thinks it's going one way and then they're like, oh no, look, it's gonna spin and turn the other way. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah, there's almost the thing that scares me about certain natural disasters, and I'm kind of teasing my list a bit later, is the idea of sort of inescapability and not knowing and kind of feeling trapped in a sense. So tornadoes, while in theory they could be avoided, if you're there and they show up, you don't know what's going to happen. So you can't escape, which is horrifying to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, some of the sequences we talked about how good they look, but I also loved some of the things, some of the lines that went with where'd my truck go? And then there it is as it comes crashing down. And then the other one I loved was towards the end when they're I think we're going in, and they go through the house.
Yeah.
Which made me think a little bit of the End of Weapons.
So the Dorothy system, in terms of chasing the storms and figuring out what to do, the Dorothy system, I don't know how well, I don't want to say how well thought out it was, but I it's weird that it took so much to get it to work in terms of how they had to go go the extra distance to like plant this truck and actually get it in basically into the storm. They couldn't just leave it because of how light it was. Just so many things that maybe add to the aura of tornadoes and their disastrous nature and their unpredictability and everything. But I feel like they maybe could have come up with a better system. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Science is a lot. So much of science is trying and failing.
That's true. They have the whole scientific method for a reason.
That's why they had 4 Dorothys. And only one of them worked.
And of course, the only one worked, and that was because every one needed to have a little propeller attached to them, and you needed to cruise control a truck into the middle of a tornado. That's all it took.
One of the things that I was very impressed by was, I think it was Alan Ruck, who was the one that was on directions.
Yes.
But just like all of his books of maps and the fact that he was able to like pull them out so quickly and figure out where they were and where they needed to go. And like, I don't know, I was like, are some of these like small like farm roads even on these maps? Like, I don't know, but I was very impressed with his skills.
Yeah, that's something that in today's day and age is not really replicatable. I feel like GPSs are the way to be, and great, we've got that sort of utility. It's crazy though to watch him kind of act out. I actually had a map in my car for even with the GPS for the longest time until I like finally cleaned it out one day. But
feels like you could lose service pretty easily in that setting though.
This is true. You're in the middle of random Oklahoma. And I mean, granted, Melissa was getting great reception on her work phone, but yeah, it would be tough. Especially with like the idea of going through shortcuts and random paths or cutting through cornfields. It's definitely not something a GPS would recommend.
Yeah, definitely not.
You would need to like jailbreak a phone or whatever to be like, hey, give me the most random routes imaginable while I'm driving.
Yeah, she would just be yelling. You'd have to turn the sound off. She'd be yelling at you.
Illegal left turn.
Turn around. Turn around.
For the love of God, turn around. So I'm going to lift up the hood on our podcast a little bit. And when we were coming up with ideas for the end of this show, and we were coming up with lists, one of the ideas I suggested was best food/meals on screen, inspired by the lovely brunch scene at the aunt's house, because my God, did that steak, eggs, potatoes, gravy, all of that look delightful. As they're all chanting,
nice Southern breakfast there.
Oh yeah, as they're all chanting, "We crave sustenance," and as Philip Seymour Hoffman says that the gravy is a food group in and of itself, I was just like drooling at the screen. Maybe it's because I hadn't eaten it a little bit before that movie, but my gosh, did it look delicious.
It did look very good.
I've never done a full-blown steak and eggs for breakfast. I've done country fried steak and eggs, but never like true blue, like sirloin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that was one of like that scene. I feel like was one of the reasons that I really felt like the pacing of this movie was good, because like, you know, they were in like the midst of that first big tornado, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's another hour of this movie. Like, are we just going to be watching them run through tornadoes for another hour? Like, I don't want that. And I feel like they knew when to like give it a rest for a little bit. And I think that it doesn't, you know, I know this movie like didn't get great reviews, but I feel like the pacing is very strong. Like it very much doesn't overdo it with the tornado scenes. They come at a good amount and they last for a good amount of time that I at least am satisfied with.
They give the audience appropriate breaks. There's this, you have the brunch scene, and then they all leave to go chase a storm. Right. They go chase it, and then they go to the drive-in, which shout out to the use of The Shining in that movie.
Friend of the pod, The Shining.
Friend of the pod, Stanley Kubrick in The Shining. So I think that was really, I made a note of that too. They expertly used the axe scene as well, and appropriate use of like a horror movie, and just the overwhelming sense of dread that especially a movie like that brings, where it's just like dour and miserable, and you never know what's coming. And then Jack Torrance showing up with the axe as the storm is rolling through. It was very, very effective.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
fun.
that was good.
Also, like, terrifying to be at a drive-in while a tornado's coming. I mean, I know they had somewhere that they could go, but like, not all drive-ins would have a place that you could go. And it's like,
No.
what do you do?
Maybe in Oklahoma they do, though.
That's true. Maybe it's like a requirement. Like, you have to have a shelter every 50 feet.
In the sequel, there's a similar sort of setup, but instead of it being at a drive-in, it's at a rodeo. Where
okay.
Glenn Powell's character and Daisy Edgar Jones's character are sitting there watching a rodeo and bonding and coming to agreeing to disagree on things and everything, and forming that connection, that sort of romantic connection that isn't really a romantic connection. But they, yeah,
and then her tornado spidey senses start tingling, and
yep.
she's like, oh no, we got to get all these people out of here. Also, I know I'm not the only person that enjoys this, but I absolutely love, like, before a storm comes, and if you're like outside and you like feel the wind pick up,
Oh
you
yeah,
just kind of look up at the sky and you're like, oh, there's a storm coming.
there's a storm of brewing. No, I like that too. I love the sleep. Oh, I used to love sleeping to thunderstorms, and then my dog became a big, scared, disaster during these storms. So those are not as enjoyable as they used to be. But I used to love, like, when a thunderstorm came at night.
Yeah, that's like one of the best parts of summer.
Yeah.
Let's say our dog is pretty good with thunderstorms. Our cat is a little bit of a scaredy cat.
He wasn't. My dog wasn't like. For the first 3 or 4 years, he wasn't scared of them. Then he got super scared of them for a while. Now that he's old, he's a little less. I don't think he hears it as well, maybe, but for a while he was inconsolable during them.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like something happens just once and then it's done forever.
Yeah,
that's what we're always like, because Remy doesn't mind like fireworks, but every year I'm like, it only takes one time for something to freak him out, and then
yep.
For sure.
So yeah. Anyways, anyone have any final thoughts?
I want to jump on dogs actually for a second in this movie. The poor dogs in this movie, there are two. The little one, it's just like at the beginning in the prologue when the F5 shows up, they're all like, get to the storm shelter, just leave the dog behind. Dog can be carried, no problem, but nope. We're just going to leave it be in this house. And then the second one at the aunt's house, the big doofy golden retriever is trapped and put into peril itself, and definitely could have died if it weren't for Bill lugging this thing out and carrying it. But just poor dogs. Thankfully, none of them died, but yeah, it just...
who else didn't die is those horses. I don't know how those horses at the end didn't get sucked up.
No idea.
You know who else didn't die, who definitely would have died in real life? Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt.
No.
Yeah, probably.
That running through the farm, I was like, there's no way they would survive.
The logic behind a lot of that just didn't make sense in the beginning with the shelter underground, and that Joe's dad trying to secure the door, and then him flying away, but somehow her mom survives, like down there a little bit lower. Like, he wasn't that far from the surface. Like, how did he get sucked up and they didn't? The one house standing in place, just everything with the storms coming through and the trucks. And yeah, some of it, there's a lot of movie sort of, you need to just give into the movie. But yeah. Also, R.I.P. to Jonas, who was in it for the money, not the science. That's a brutal way to go. Him and Eddie.
He deserved it.
Well, yeah, he could have listened and not been a jerk.
Yes. I also like that, to avoid all of the issues with, like, I don't want to say copyright, but issues with credit for that, he used squares instead of little round balls to the things to float up in the air on his Dorothy.
Because he's smart.
He's smart.
All right, Ben, do you have TV recommendations for us this week?
I do. I have two. So there's not a lot of TV shows about disasters because they're kind of closed-ended situations. So there's not, doesn't lend itself to an ongoing TV series. However, I've got one that's called 5 Days at Memorial, which was a limited series from a few years ago set during Hurricane Katrina. And the first episode is like during the kind of the worst parts of the storm, and then it's like the few days right after at Memorial is a hospital, and it's the immediate aftermath of Katrina. The first episode is really harrowing, directed by John Wells. It was as far as TV episodes go with disasters, I can't think of much that would be more harrowing than this, especially because it's based on real events. So that's the show. And then the other one, not related to disasters at all, but is Mad About You, because this was starring Helen Hunt. They delayed the start of the new season of Mad About You, the filming of the new season, because they got behind on Twister. But she was a big time TV star in the 90s. And then after this, of course, went on and won her Oscar for As Good as It Gets. But it was originally like the reason she got this job in Twister and the reason she got As Good as It Gets was from her work on Mad About You, which is a really underrated 90s sitcom that I feel like doesn't get a lot of love or attention these days compared to things like Friends and Seinfeld and things like that and Frasier. But it's a really good sitcom, especially two leads played by Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt.
Good to know. Thank you.
It's like a married couple version of Friends.
Are there multiple married couples?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, just in that they're in New York and they're a little neurotic and they're, it's a good show. The two, like I said, Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt are excellent in it. The rest of the cast, the supporting cast isn't as strong, but when it's the two of them, it's really strong. There's a great dog too. Speaking of dogs, they have a great dog named Marie in that show, who's a really funny character. But definitely a great 90s sitcom.
Yeah. All right, Geoff, what are our movies?
So we've talked about a couple already. Speed, Jan de Bont's notable directorial movie, if you will, kind of taps into that cheesiness and in the action sense and thriller sense. Also Twisters, the legacy sequel for this movie. We've already talked about it. It's a fun time. Not as good as this one, but still a blast. I'm going to throw out a movie that could potentially qualify as a natural disaster movie. And Google AI, Gemini, I hate using it, but says that meteors are natural disasters. So I'm going to say Armageddon is going to be my natural disaster representation in terms of cheesiness and a maximalism, ridiculous movie. I'm going to use that here in that sense. But I loved Armageddon. Well, it's so fun with it.
I was telling the Westlings last night at trivia that we were doing top 4 disasters, and one of them brought up meteors. So I think it's allowed.
Cool. So Armageddon will get the natural disaster sort of big movie award there. And then movies from the 2020s that tap into natural disasters. Ben, you'll recognize this one. This was one of your top 10 from last year. The Lost Bus, based on a true story.
Good show.
And
good movie. I mean, sorry, not show.
No, you're good. It's a lot of fun, or not a lot of fun. It's a exciting movie that I think gets a good performance out of Matthew McConaughey and America Ferrera. And it is really riveting and really traps you in this sort of inescapability of this wildfire in this movie. So that'll be my 2020s representation on this list.
Great. Thank you. All right. So now we're moving into our top 4, which, as we've mentioned a couple times now, is natural disasters that we do not want to be finding ourselves in. So Geoff, let's hear your list first.
All right. So to come up with this list, I basically wrote down everything. I wrote down every single natural disaster I could think of and then maybe could narrow it down. So it was very, very tough to me to try to select a top 4, trying to think about it from the inescapability sense and how terrible it would feel to be in this sort of world. So I don't have any honorable mentions. I'm just going to kind of give my list. So my number 4 is, I think you guys kind of hinted at it already, but is a tornado. The unpredictability of it, if you live in the Midwest, it's a terrifying thing to feel. And knowing that, hey, this is going to be tough and tricky to get around or avoid if you're stuck in its path. Yeah, the only reason it's not higher is because it kind of covers a very small area, relatively speaking. Number 3, I put diseases. I think there is something to be said about some natural disaster-esque diseases that are very, very tough to avoid, and especially when you're trapped in sort of that surrounding area with that, it's pretty tough. Pretty tough. Number 2 is wildfire because of how destructive it is, and it can get you in multiple ways. Burn you up, cause you to lose oxygen, can cover wide areas, and just cause unprecedented chaos in its nature. And then number 1, I put drought. Knowing when resources are scarce, I know famines aren't necessarily natural disasters, but droughts cause famines. And when there's no water, we start to lose some things. And it's kind of scary to think about, especially as the climate in our world is always changing. And eventually we're going to run into some water struggles. There already are some in certain parts of the world. So I do not want to be involved in any sort of droughts where there's a lack of resources like that. So that is my list. The only one that I did not even consider for this is a blizzard, because we're all from upstate New York, Western New York. We got this in the bag.
I mean, plenty of people die in blizzards.
I mean, I know that, but we got this.
All right. You ever been buried in 7 feet of snow, Geoff?
That's what I was gonna say. I didn't put it on my list, but I don't know. As far as ones to not be outside for, I don't want to be outside and not be able to go inside during a blizzard.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, let's hear your list, Ben.
Yeah, so it was like I feel like there's a million caveats you can give, or like qualifiers you can give. Like, well, you know, do I need to worry about hurricanes because I don't live by an ocean? Do I need to worry about which ones are worse to be stuck outside versus which ones would be worse to just be like in the vicinity of, even if you're inside? You know, so I think there's a lot of routes you could take with how to make this list, but I just kind of went with a gut instinct. A drought was a good one though. I didn't think of that one because that's like a long, slow, painful one as opposed to the immediacy of some of these other ones. All right, so my number 4 was earthquake, and I think that one, you know, you just like the death tolls to earthquakes are so high when they happen, and I think part of it is because, talk about little warning for tornadoes and stuff, earthquakes can happen with zero warning at all. You know, you might know you live on a fault line, but you don't know when that's going to happen. And it's just scary that it can just happen out of nowhere so quickly and cause such incredible damage. Number 3, so I didn't put blizzard, but my number 3 is avalanche.
That's definitely worse in my opinion. Yeah.
I wouldn't be in a place where I'd likely be susceptible to an avalanche because I'm not like climbing and scaling mountains, but being buried in snow seems worse than trying to get through a blizzard.
Yeah.
Number 2, hurricane. You know, same thing. Like, I don't know. The whole like being swept up in it stuff, I think, is what, you know, you can go inside for a hurricane and you're still going to be drowning. Like, you can't go to a storm shelter usually for a hurricane kind of thing. So that's my number 2. Number 1 is wildfire, partly because I just, you know, some of the things Geoff said, like there's multiple ways it can be damaging to you. It can spread so fast. It's like something I've feared when I was little, things like that. So I feel like it's just the perfect storm of meeting like fear meets painful way to go meets unpredictability. So there we go.
All right. Good one. I feel like my list is shaped by movies, especially movies I saw as a kid, or just like real life disasters that I learned about as a kid and then was always just like, nope, gonna be afraid of that for forever.
That's fair.
So I did have an honorable mention. My honorable mention is volcano eruption, just because I feel like, again, learning about Pompeii and whatever, and you're like, oh my God. It's like, am I probably ever going to be near a volcano explosion? No. But I still think it's terrifying.
That's the only reason I didn't put something like volcanoes or meteors, because I'm just not going to in theory, be in that situation. So I tried to put it in a more
I
realistic
can still
sense,
be
but
scared of
A
it.
meteor
you can
go
still be
anywhere.
horrified. I mean, that's true. Touche.
You don't know where a meteor is going to hit. Okay, my number 4 is wildfire, as you both had, because I don't want to burn to death. And again,
No.
with the way our world's going, they are becoming more prevalent and harder to extinguish. And that's nope, don't like that. Number 3 is earthquake, because like you said, Ben, they pretty much have no warning and there's no real safe place to be. I mean, I think they tell you to do something if you're going to be in an earthquake, but really it's not really safe. Number 2 is a drought, because again, our world is a scary place and we're going to be facing the water wars. Hopefully not in our lifetimes, I really hope, but being in a drought sounds really terrible. And I saw how we all got during COVID. I'm sure it would be much better if there were no resources for people.
Everybody would be real chill.
Real chill.
Super chill. Super chill. It'd be like a game of Catan where you don't have any resources and you can't build.
And I'm super chill when that happens.
Exactly. And then number 1 is tornado. I don't think it's the most scary thing on my list, TBH, but I have been the most scared of tornadoes for the longest time in my life. Probably because of this movie, which I obviously didn't watch, but was aware of. Also, back in the 90s, there was a tornado warning where Ben and I grew up. It probably wasn't where you were, Geoff, and I very distinctly remember my parents talking about it and like being in the house, and I was like very afraid. And
I mean, it went through downtown.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
Yeah. Caused damage to where like BJ's and that stuff is.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I don't remember that part, but I remember everyone talking about it and being very scared of it. And I remember someone was like, oh yeah, you know, a tornado's coming because it sounds like a train. And again, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's just something someone told me when I was a little kid, but where I lived was like not too far from train tracks. You know, you could hear them in the distance. And basically all of my childhood, after someone told me that, anytime I heard a train whistle at night, I was like, is that a tornado? Is it coming? Is it going to come and get me? So it's just one of those things.
Isn't it amazing how I'm like sidebarring here now, but like how like one thing you hear as a child can just set you off for so long based
Seriously.
on like, and I think of that now having a child, like how some offhand comment that, you know, doesn't, my example of that is my uncle one time told a story of some kid near where they lived who put their mouth on a Christmas candle. Like,
Okay.
you know, like one of those window candles, and like electrocuted themselves.
Oh.
And I then was like terrified. Like my mom had to like take all the Christmas candles down. One night I like put a flashlight in my mouth and then ran downstairs convinced I was gonna die. You know, it's just, like that's something that I'm sure my uncle thought like was gonna like send me into these like sleepless nights of fear. Like it's just, I don't know, you gotta be careful. Like I just think of that now having a child, about like how some offhanded comment that you don't even think much of can really like do some damage.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You just never know. And the way the mind just runs with things.
Yeah, for real.
All right. Well, now that you've all heard a little bit about our fears and
Our trauma.
childhood traumas, that would bring us to the end of our Twister episode. If you'd like to watch along with us next week, we will be watching Pretty Woman. So be sure
similar.
to, yeah, for sure. Same vein. Be sure to watch along or just tune in. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a rating or a review, and be sure to follow us on all our social channels. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see y'all next week.
To infinity and beyond!
Why so serious?
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.